All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Last night was the first night, the first round of the 2025 NBA Draft presented by State Farm. A lot of the guys in front of you on your screen started their NBA journey last night. It was the first step and a lot of steps to greatness. We're going to talk about some of the draft night movers, some of the teams that traded, guys they drafted. We're going to talk about some drama, some controversy with the number 5 pick that the Jazz took. We're going to talk about the one player trade that we had last night. Phoenix was very busy. They were involved in a lot of trades. And we're going to project how these players are going to fit on their new teams as rookies, how good they can be as rookies, some player comparisons and all that. This is my strong suit. Projecting where players fit, how they're going to fit, and all that good stuff. So if you like what I say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So let's just jump right into it here. The no-brainer pick, the number one pick, that he's been the number one pick for about 18 months now. Cooper Flag, drafted by the Dallas Mavericks. Um, there's not a lot to say about Cooper that hasn't already been said. I don't want to beat a dead horse too much, even though that's my job. I do want to talk about his fit on this Dallas Mavericks team. I want to talk about his positives. His positives are his positional versatility. He could play the three, the four, the five. That's small forward, power forward, center. Um, his playmaking I think his playmaking is a little overhyped, but I see the vision. I see what people talk about, and his real calling card is on the defensive end, specifically shot blocking. I think that can translate almost immediately. I think at times when you project these guys to be good defenders at 18, 19 years old, it takes a month or two for them to really get in their mode, really get in their groove. He averaged 1 block on the season at Duke last year, so he does have the numbers. Um, I'm just so interested in the construction of this Dallas Mavericks team with Kyrie Irving being out, with Klay Thompson not really being, I want to say himself, but not really being his full self, and the front court set. It's Cooper at the three, AD at the four, and Derek Lively at the five. That's a deadly, deadly front court. Um, I am, I am, I'm very, very happy with that front court. If I'm any Dallas Mavericks fan, now my thought process is obviously you still run Klay Thompson at the two, and you have to find a guard, a point guard. Now, I think it should just be any guard that can shoot. I think that would be premium. I think you let Cooper run out there his first couple games of the season, first couple months of the season, I should say, and let him be the point forward. Let him make those mistakes. Let us see if he really has those playmaking chops that he flashed at Duke. Um, there's been rumblings of the Dallas Mavericks bringing in a veteran guard like Chris Paul, which would be super good. I think that would be amazing. There's talks of bring in a guy, which I'm not a bigger fan of D'Angelo Russell. I don't think that'd be great at all, but he is a shooting point guard, so it would fit the mold. Um, but I think the main thing is Cooper needs to be able to make these mistakes, defensively, offensively. Let him run some three. Oh, he's going to start at the three. Let him run some four, some five. Um, I don't I don't think there needs to be a lot of pressure on him. I don't think there needs to be a lot of pressure on him from Dallas Mavericks fans, from Dallas as an organization. Next year is going to be a really tough year in the sense of you don't know where you're going to land. You could land in the play-in, you could land in that safe zone towards the mid to bottom of the playoff picture, or they could be really good and Cooper's the truth. I don't know. It's really up to um, what Coach Jason Kidd wants to do and what the organization wants to do. Because you got this guy, this young kid who's 18 years old, and you're gonna have to figure out: do we want to push and try to win a champion, try to get back to the championship, try to get back to the finals, or do we want to just bring him along slowly, let him learn from Anthony Davis, let him learn from um, Derek Lively, let him learn from these other guys that are around him. Um, Najee Marshall, great defender already in the NBA. Took him a while to get going as a good defender. You just have to keep all these things in mind. To talk about his player comps here, from what I've seen and everything I've saw, the main one on the offensive end is Jason Tatum. Now, to me, there's always been two versions of Jason Tatum. There's one pre 2020, and there's one post 2020. Pre 2020, he was in the post. He was more in the mid range. He was rise and fire on the mid range, rise and fire at the three. Post 2020, Jason Tatum, post coach Ime Udoka, and bring in Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla's play style and coaching style was a lot different than Coach Ime Udoka's. Now, we talk about Jason Tatum's game transforming. We have to talk about him just chucking up shots sometimes, him not really taking his time, him just not really being not really being as efficient, at least um visually. By the numbers he might be, but visually, The other player comp I see a lot is Scottie Pippen. Um I like the Scottie Pippen comp. Especially considering that Cooper's 3 point shot isn't quite there yet. Um it can get there. But if he can be a defensive playmaking guy like Scotty for at least the first couple years of his career, while he works on the other things that need to improve, I think you got maybe not a generational talent right out the gate. Maybe I'm wrong, but you might have a guy who plays in this league a very very long time. So let's move on to the number 2 pick here. The number 2 pick selected by the San Antonio Spurs, Dylan Harper out of Rutgers, the first kid from Rutgers to go in this draft. From everything I've seen and everything I've watched, um, he's a point guard. He's a point guard's point guard. His ball handling's good. His 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 how do you say his knack for finishing around the basket, incredible. Um, his 3 point almost 35% in his 1 year at Rutgers. He's 19 years old. Um, 6'10" wingspan. This is this is Ron Harper's son, NBA. Say say should say great NBA somebody. We'll put it that way. NBA somebody. Um, the player comps I saw from weren't so like favorable, but I think when you go to the Spurs and you get to play with what the Spurs should do and what he should play with is he should start at the point guard. Should be Stefan Castle at the two. Get a three, a serviceable three. Probably gonna be Jeremy Shohan and Victor Wembanyama, and you run that team out there. You're looking pretty good. You're looking really good. I like that a lot. I think again with a lot of these picks, I'm gonna say let them make mistakes, but let Dylan, especially as a point guard in this modern NBA where the point guard is supreme. Um, Let him get a feel for this NBA pace, especially as a point guard. Let him get a feel for um, the pressure around the basket is so much different in the NBA versus college. Um, he's going to be playing with a guy who puts a lot of pressure on the rim in Victor Wembanyama. He's going to get to play against that every day in practice. I think that's going to be great for his development. He's going to get to learn around some great guys that the Spurs already have there, in the sense of guys that come around the facility, guys like Manu Ginobili, guys like Tony Parker. He's going to get to pick their brain, and it's going to be very good. Now, the elephant in the room is I did say he should start at the point guard. That means De'Aaron Fox is you're going to have to let him walk. It's going to be tough, but I think that's That's the direction the Spurs are going. I don't think you draft this kid number 2 and you put him on the bench. I don't think you do that. And I don't think you put him on the bench and then you pay De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is going to have to go. And I know it was a big midseason acquisition for the Spurs. I think if they knew they were going to get the number 2 pick, they wouldn't have traded for De'Aaron Fox. I think they would just stayed pat and waited till the drafting to get Dylan Harper. Some other stuff here, not the best. Assist to turnover ratio for Dylan. It's a tad concerning. I'm going to assume that the timing for passing the ball and the space that he's going to have to pass the ball is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But he's going to learn how to open those gaps, how to put pressure on the rim, how to kick it out to Victor Wembanyama, how to kick it out to Stephon Castle, and really, really learn. How do I say this? Learn the right way to pass the ball, because the Spurs have always been a good passing team. I think that's really it for Dylan. Now, the number 3 pick, which was up for debate at times. 76ers held the pick. There was thoughts of they might trade it to get rid of the Paul George contract, which is a terrible contract, one of the worst contracts in the NBA right now. And they took the kid out of Baylor, VJ Edgecombe, who through last night I really learned to like after hearing some great stuff about him. He's freaking he's almost 20 years old, so he's a bit older, a bit more mature, which is good. His calling card is also defense and athleticism. That's really the what the 76ers need. Now, I'm going to talk about the Sixers first, and then we'll circle back to VJ because I think it's very important to talk about the Sixers. The Sixers are in a weird place. You have young guys like VJ now, Jared McCain coming off the injury. You have Tyrese Maxey. You have a lot of young guys that need a lot of minutes, that need to grow. Maxey has already grown into an all-star, an all-NBA guard. You look at the rest of the team, you have these freaking old guys. You have Joel Embiid, who is never healthy. I will bet any amount of money. I'll bet the house on it that he will continue not to be healthy. And there's always going to be the question of, oh, what if Joel Embiid's healthy? If he's healthy, give it up. The act was funny like 3 years ago. It's not funny anymore. He's just not healthy. And he's I think he's what 30. I think he's like 30 something, 32. He moves like he's 42. Absolutely, ugh. Then you have Paul George, who Paul George is just out of his depth. He's just not himself. The duo of them only played 15 games together, so I will give them a little bit of grace. We'll get a little bit of grace from me. But I say both these things to say the dual timeline never works. It never works. It's only worked one time. And even the greatest team, one of the greatest teams, one of the greatest organizations ever tried to do it in the Warriors, and it didn't work. The Spurs did it, and it worked. That's the only time it's ever worked. I don't trust that the Sixers will make the right decision. I think they will keep pushing to try to make this work. Daryl Morey will try to make himself look good. Try to keep making himself look good. Nick Nurse is going to coach his ass off. He's going to try to coach his ass off, but it's never going to work out. And I hope they make the right decision. In a year, 2 years, they trade Joel Embiid, they trade Paul George, and they just run the young guys out there because I think they have a really good young core. I think they have one of the best young cores in this league. They probably don't deserve the core because they're not going to get enough playing time together in these first couple years. But down the line, you're telling me you're going to run out Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, and VJ Edgecombe, possibly at the 3. I mean, He's 6'4". I mean, you could run it out there. I mean, he's athletic. He's on ball defense. You know. So I think that's the way you should go if I'm the Sixers. Now to talk about VJ, I hinted at it. His athleticism, his on-ball defense. He's got that bit of mean in him, and I think that's what the Sixers team needs. He has a bit of mean in him. Tyrese Maxey, a little too nice. Jared McCain, too nice. Paul George, nobody respects Paul George. Nobody cares about Paul George. Joel Embiid, nobody likes Joel Embiid. That doesn't mean he's got that dog in him. They need a guy like VJ. I think it's very good for VJ to be there, at least at this moment. Um, the comparisons I've seen, the one that I like the most is Victor Oladipo. If you do not remember Pacers Victor Oladipo for like those 2 years, oh man, if they get that, I would trade Joel Embiid at the All Star break. I would try to fucking get him out of there as quick as possible so I can see VJ Edgecombe possessed by Victor Oladipo. I've also seen Chris Dunn. I've also seen a little bit of Derek White. I'm not sure I see Derek White. Derek White is a acquired smart defender in the sense of that it takes time to become a Derek White. Derek White wasn't always the defender that he is now. It took him a while. And as good as you were projected to be, and as good as you think you are, and as good as you think the team is, or the team thinks you are, you have to get those miles under your belt to really become a smart defender. So I think that's the real question right there is he just going to be a physical defender or is he going to be a smart defender? I think that's where it lies for him. Um, at number 5, the Hornets took the smart pick. They took the smart pick, and I will give them credit for taking the smart pick. They took a fit guy. They probably didn't take the best guy on the board, but they took a fit guy, and they took Khan Knuppel out of Duke. Um, Khan, from everything I've heard, everything I watched, because I watched a lot of Duke games this past college season. Um, he has a great feel for the game. He is one of the best shooters. He's the best catch and shoot shooters on this um, in this draft class. And he is a floor spacer to a T. He shot 40% from three last year at Duke. Um, his assist to turnover ratio isn't great, but trust. I do not think he'll have the ball in his hand a lot. I think he will in moments. I think him playing alongside LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, this is one of the better fits for that team. And I think him scoring around 14 points in college can be similar in the NBA. I think he can get around there. What is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 3 threes a game. You're already at 9 points. You get a couple of free throws. You get 2 point. You get a couple of 2 pointers. You have 14 points already. I think if they give him that opportunity and let him move throughout the system in the sense of playing the 1, the 2, um, maybe some 3 in spurts. I think the the Hornets have enough space right now to do what they need to do on the floor. They have enough bodies, is what I meant to say. But I think Khan's gonna be really good. I think can I say something that might be a little hot take ish? I think he might be the most adult person in that room, all things considered. I think he might be the most adult person in that room, unless they bring Taj Gibson back. So yeah, what I've seen from last night was the comparisons at least. Um, I saw some Evan Fournier comparisons. Um, Evan Fournier had moments where he looked really good. I like Evan Fournier. Um, I also saw some Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard's a head and shoulders above average shooter. Um, I also saw a little Gordon Hayward, and Gordon Hayward's an interesting one because are we talking Jazz Gordon Hayward, or are we talking like just the archetype of Gordon Hayward? I don't know. I don't see Gordon Hayward if you ask me, but I get what they're getting at. A guy who can do a little bit of everything. He's white. Gordon Hayward is white. Khan Knuppel is white. Let's see. Can I find him in this picture right here? He's the guy right. Let's see. He's between the gentleman on the right side of your screen with the white shirt and the black jacket and the all black suit with the chain. He's the guy in the blue suit, right there, the white guy. He's was it second over from Adam Silver on the right. So yeah, let's let's try to blaze through these after this next one. The next one, the most controversial one, um, was Rutgers' very own, New Jersey's very own, selected by the Utah Jazz, Ace Bailey. One of the most controversial draft picks, one of the most controversial build-ups to the draft in a little while here. Um, I'm gonna say some things about Ace that I've been meaning to say, and I can say it now because he's not just a kid; he's a professional basketball player who's open to scrutiny. I can say whatever I want now. I did not like the way Ace Bailey went about his draft process. He didn't work out for any teams. I think he worked out for one or two teams, maybe. He didn't do a lot of interviews. He wanted to get paid to do interviews that weren't NBA related. His team wanted to get paid as well as representation. That'd be his manager, his agent, and his agent. And I said this in the last video. I said he should not be named. Is Amari Cooper's father. And if you don't know Amari Cooper, I'll pull him up right here for you right now. I'll tell you Amari Cooper's accolades here. Hold on one second. Pardon me, Sharif Cooper. That's how dominant he is in the NBA. Sharif Cooper, um, one season in the NBA, 201 point in 2021-2022, only 0.1 points. He's played for one team. He played for the Atlanta Hawks. So yeah, those are the accolades that he has. And his father thinks he's a authority on how to manage a basketball player's life. Crazy. Now, a lot of things I'm going to say about Ace applies to his representation as well, but Ace is the curious case of a guy who thinks he was a big fish in a small pond, and now he's just a small fish in an ever growing pond that they could care less about him. In the sense of he wanted to he worked out for certain teams, didn't work out for a lot of other teams, and he really wanted, I think it was the Nets. He wanted to go to the Nets. Oh, I can find it though. Let me find it here. He wanted to go to the Nets. He wanted to go um, somewhere else. Hold on one second. Here we go. I got it right here. I got it right here. I got it. He wanted to go to the Nets, the Pelicans, or the Wizards. Um, he declined workouts from the Sixers, the Hornets, and he declined workouts from the Jazz, who ended up drafting him. Now, I had heard some buzz that, um, if you don't know, Danny Ainge, NBA legend, has been working with the Jazz for a long time now, and his son Austin Ainge has taken over as the basketball head of operations GM. So this was his first big um, selection, Austin Ainge. It was, um, and Ace Bailey didn't want to play for the Jazz, and he wanted to go somewhere. And I said this somewhere else that he wanted to go to a bad team with no direction and no nothing and just put up shots. That being the Wizards, who just traded Jordan Poole, so there's an open spot to just throw up shots. Um, there's the Brooklyn Nets, who really have. There's another shot chucker, but probably one of the most efficient shot chuckers recently, and Cam Thomas over there. That would have been interesting. And he ends up going to um, the Jazz, and you should have seen his face. It was somebody. It was the look of somebody getting their just desserts, getting what they didn't want, and I can just picture anybody in the Jazz front office because he was the no disrespect to Ace, he was the best pick at this number. He was the best guy left. Um, but they said, Ace, we don't care if you didn't work out for us once. We don't care. You're gonna get paid a couple $1 million to come play in Utah, in purgatory. Um, and he said after getting drafted, he said a whole bunch of nothing after getting drafted. He looked like he was gonna cry on national television because he got sent to Utah. But he said, and I quote, I can control what I can control. They know how I feel, but my team and me focusing on basketball and them doing their doing, so it happens. Sounds like a guy who does not want to be there. What a great way to start your career. What a fitting way for somebody to try to force their way to another team. He literally only had to fall one more spot to get to the Wizards, the Pelicans, or the Nets. And he didn't get what he wanted. He didn't get what he wanted, and I think it's so fitting that he didn't get what he wanted. Because when you whine and cry about something and want to do something, and you have to realize that you are nothing to these NBA scouts, to these NBA GMs. If they tell you you're going to play for them, you are going to play for them, and you're going to get paid, and you're going to like it. And that's really it. Um, Paul George also had some words for him. This was in a podcast maybe a day or two before the draft. Um, if I could find it right here, real quick. Um, one moment, one moment, one moment. Whoopsies. Paul George said, and I quote on his podcast, "You're not in any position to be making all these demands. Make it to the league first." Paul George and Ace Bailey not working out for a single team. Um, Paul George has never been right about something in the last couple months. This is the this is the I can agree with him on this. This was crazy. Um, Shout out Paul George, man. He nailed it right on the head. Now the positives about Ace Bailey. Again, the best player available. Um, his scoring is absolutely ridiculous. He's a pull up threat. His athleticism is crazy. He claims he's 6'10". He's not 6'10". His official height is 6'7.5". Um, he's 18 years old and he has a lot of maturing to do. And I think the best thing for him was to end up in a place that he didn't want to be, and he has to learn how to mature and learn how to be a professional basketball player, because that's one of the biggest things you can struggle with, and this happened time and time again with a lot of players and a lot of drafts. Is you think you've been a basketball player all your life, right? But you've never been asked to be a professional. You've never been asked to take accountability for yourself and for your team. And what the Jazz saw in him was the potential, and they think they can grow him and mature him into this lead guard. Um, I mean, the comparisons I've seen, especially because of his off-ball defense, there's a lot of Michael Porter Jr., especially from this past year, which I think is which is very accurate. There's also Jada McDaniels vibes in there. There's some Rudy Gay. I think Rudy Gay is probably the best comparison. Um, the way this kid is built is Rudy Gay esque. It's tall, it's lengthy, it's awkward. He's doing a turnaround jumper, and you don't think he's gonna make it, and he makes it. You're like, whoa, wow, what? Hold on. You're like, whoa, how do you do that? Um, he's gotten a lot of praise from a lot of NBA players, Paul George, Kevin Durant. Um, although there was a video floating around that of Ace Bailey working out with Giannis, and you can tell Giannis is visibly frustrated, trying to teach Ace how to do a move, and he keeps telling him, "You have to do it this way. You have to do this way." And Ace is like, "No, I'm going to do it this way." And Giannis tells him to show him, and he does it, and Giannis stops it immediately. He's like, "No, no, no, that's not going to work in the league." So this kid has a lot to learn, but I think it's a humbling experience nonetheless to get drafted to Utah. And Utah's not a bad organization. I make fun of Utah because Utah's boring. There's nothing to do in Utah. Every account I've heard about Utah is there's nothing to do. Um, but the team, the organization itself, they got a young coach, Will Hardy. They got a young GM. They got a young owner. I think they can all grow together and make this work. Um, Now we're gonna blast through these last couple here. Last couple. We've only been through five, and we're about 30 minutes in. So we're just gonna talk about some of these, not get too deep into them. Um, this last one here, or this next one here, Trey Johnson. Let's see, Trey Johnson. Um, Trey Johnson is touted as the second best shooter um, in this draft class, next to Concanoople. Um, he's a bucket getter, man. Catch and shoot threat, pull up threat, perimeter shooting. The whole works. The whole works. Shot 39% from three. Good. 19 points out of Texas. Um, the kind of guy I want to root for. I haven't said this thus far. I think my guys in this draft class are gonna be Trey Johnson and it's gonna be VJ Edgecombe. I think those are gonna be my guys for this draft. I like Concanoople, I like Dylan Harper, but I like guys being um on somewhat bad teams and getting to prove themselves and um, be a real player. Trey Johnson was taken by the Wizards. I forgot to say that. I've seen a lot of comparisons to Terrence Ross, um, who I had the pleasure of watching throughout my time watching the NBA. Um, if he's Terrence Ross, that's a great player. That's a great player, especially for the Wizards. Um, the the Wizards need they have an abundance of forwards. They have abundance. They have their star center in Alex Starr from last year, who just fell miraculously into their lap at two. And then they recently got rid of Jordan Poole, and they have a bunch of vets there now. They have Marcus Smart, they have Chris Middleton, they have CJ McCollum, and I think I think having those guys around and having them mentor and teach guys like Trey Johnson is going to be great. Um, Speaking more towards the lineup part of it, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Wizards balance putting some young guys out there on the floor and putting some old guys out there on the floor. Because you look at a lot of these guys actually up until now, they're not that tall. Cooper's the tallest guy in this top five. That's 6'7". So there's a lot of positional versatility, but there's also some um, you got to fit into a certain pocket, and you might have to play a position you're not comfortable with. I think Trey Johnson is going to have the chance to figure it out, and that's a positive for him. Let's blast through these next couple. Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma. I think he jumped up in this, right? 7? He jumped up one spot, yeah. So he ended up in um in New Orleans. Let me find Jeremiah Fears here real quick. Let me see. Fears. What a great name too, by the way. Jeremiah Fears. I can see the merch already. Um, where is Fears? Fears. Oh my. Oh, there he is. Damn, he's way down here. Okay. Um, Jeremiah Fears, um, smaller guard. I've heard some. He might not be NBA. He might not be NBA ready right out the gate. Um, I didn't watch a lot of Oklahoma, so I'm just relying on what other people have said. Um, his playmaking, his ball handling is there. 17 points a game, 4 assists, 3 turnovers. Not great. So for every 4 turnovers he has 3 more. Or 3 assists, he has 4 assists, he has 3 more. His 3 point percentage is a little abysmal at 28, but his potential is there. Potential is there. Um, if he could even sniff either of these guys that he's been compared to, which is Scoot Henderson and Jaden Ivey, I think he does okay. Now, both of those guys, this is the crazy part, both of those guys haven't even reached their potential. So whatever they're projecting him to be, they don't even know what they are. So it's sort of like a weird pseudo compared just to the young guys before you, but they don't even know who they are yet. So you shouldn't project yourself or try to be those guys. I don't know. Sort of weird, I guess. But yeah, let's see. Let's blast through these next couple here. Then we'll talk about a couple more here. The Nets took Igor Demin out of BYU. Um, Pretty solid pick. I would say. The Raptors took Colin Murray Boyles. He's another one that people are sort of spotty on. Um, some people like him, some people don't. Um, I'm in the middle. From what I saw in the tape I saw, he stands at 6'6". Um, he so to me he sort of has the archetype of a lot of guys in this draft where his defense is going to be his calling card, and then he can work on the offense later. He has a pretty good feel from the game, from what I've been told. His on ball defense is great. His post, well, I guess what would you call it? His perimeter, his paint patrolling is good. Um, in the sense of he can stop people in the post. He can stop people getting from the basket. He has a 7-foot wingspan. He's 20 years old, a little bit older, um, and he's an absolute tank. Um, to look at some comparisons here, the two I've seen, which is tough to live up to, is Meta World Peace and Draymond Green. Now, if you could be either of those guys and have either of those guys' career, I think you're in a good spot. So Colin Murray Boyles for you. The next one, the guy I was really high on, Kaman Malawach. Um, this pick was made by the Rockets. Oh, I should say the Raptors took Colin Murray Boyles. A weird fit. Before we jump to the Rockets, a weird fit. They have a lot of forwards. I don't know. There's been rumors that they want to trade. Um, they want to trade Manuel Quickly and RJ Barrett, so there's going to be some spots opening up. But if they can't get that done, Kyler Murray Boyles is going to be in a deep, deep rotation. It's going to be hard to get minutes. Um, Back to the Rockets. Kamal Malawach, one of my favorites in this draft. I love a versatile defensive center. Um, I love it. Now, this pick was made by the Rockets. It's involved in the Kevin Durant trade, so it will go to the Suns. So the Suns have Kamal Malawach. I'm very high on him. I think he's one of the best bigs next to a guy like what's his name? What's his name? What's his name? What's his name? Uh, is it? It's Derek Queen. Next to Derek Queen. I like both the bigs, but what the Rockets are gonna get out of, well, not the Rockets, pardon me. See, I'm doing it. What the Suns are gonna get is a good defensive center. Um, Absolutely insane upside, lob threat, defensive anchor, all the stuff you want from a young center. I see a lot of um, how do you say it? A Walker Kessler in this kid and Kamal Malawach. Some of the other comparisons, um, JaVale McGee. I think if he can beat JaVale McGee was a key piece on on two championship teams. So if he can be either of these guys, I think it's great. Um, let's move on here. Let's get through a couple of these. Blazers took Cedric Coward. Bulls took Noah Esungay. I don't know how to say that one. I love the draft because you hear about three different people say a name about five different ways, and you don't know how to say it. So you have to go look at it on Basketball Reference, and they have the phonetic spelling for you. They have the phonetic way to say it, and even when they have the phonetic, it's not right because the kid on the Nuggets, Christian Braun. Everybody called him Christian Brown for about 3 years until he said, "Nah, it's Braun. It's said differently." Noah Esagay going to the Bulls. Um, Interesting one, I would say. Let me find his little thing here. Noah Esongay. I heard Esengay too. I don't even know. Um, I I saw some people on Twitter saying this is the most um, obvious bust of all time. Um, there's not a lot of to say on him because a lot of people don't have a lot of things to say on him because he played overseas in Germany and in France. Um, and he's sort of an unknown, which is interesting, but at the same time a little concerning. My other favorite big in this draft, was drafted by the Hawks, will be traded to the Pelicans. Derek Queen. Derek Queen is a controversial figure in the sense of some people like the play style he is, some people don't. I like it enough. I like a playmaking big. I like an interior scorer. I like a crafty finisher. I like a guy who can rebound a little bit. Um, there's thoughts of being the infamous Thaddeus Johnson, Thaddeus Young. There's thoughts of being JaMychal Green, which is a serviceable big. There's also bigger comparisons of being a Boris Diaw, being a Domantas Sabonis. I could see Boris Diaw. Boris Diaw had a great career. Um, yeah, Boris Diaw is a good comparison for Derek Queen. Let's see. 16 points a game, 1 steal, 1 block, 9 rebounds. I think it's going to be an interesting fit to see him play with Zion Williamson and the crew down in New Orleans. All right, the next one. Carter Bryant selected by the Spurs. You got Thomas Schaller going to the Thunder. Thunder were trying to move up in this draft. They just couldn't do it. They ended up staying at 15 and taking Thomas Schaller, which isn't bad. I've heard some very good things about Thomas Schaller. Um, I am not too familiar with Thomas, but who knows? He could be very good, especially the Thunder. The Thunder have a depth talent of either developing you so well or just throwing you to the side because you don't fit the archetype. See Josh Giddey, see Alexis Pokashevsky, see anybody else that they've gotten rid of. Um, let's see here. Next one, Yang Hessen, from China. He was drafted by the Grizzlies, traded to the Blazers. Now, this is a crazy one. Apparently, he's Chinese Nikola Jokic. Not my words, other people's words. I saw the tape. I've heard some things, and do I agree? Am I that smart to point that out? No. But do I see the vision? Yes. He was supposed to be a second rounder. He shot up to the 16th pick. We're already at the 16th pick. So yeah. Jonah Beringer went to the Timberwolves. Walter Clayton, I had him going to the Heat at 20. He ends up on the Wizards at 18. But he was traded to the Jazz. So it's going to be the Jazz have an abundance of guard depth now. I think the thought process is we're going to see who's the best the next couple years, and whoever is the best, we keep. Whoever we think doesn't fit, we'll trade, and we'll still get assets for them down the road. Because now you have Clayton, you have Bailey, you have um, Jordan Clarkson, who's about to be 30 or is 30. He's probably going to be off the team. You have, what's that other kid's name? I forget his name, but they have a bunch of guards. Um, the Nets at 19 took Nolan Trayor. The Heat took Kasparis Jakuchones. Um, the Heat don't draft a lot of foreign players. I think he's the second one to be drafted. In the last couple years, they took Nikola Jovic. And that hasn't really worked out, so we'll see if it's different for Kasparis. Um, the Jazz, with the 21st pick, took Will Riley, traded to the Wizards. So Wizards just keep stacking on talent here. The Hawks at 22 took Drake Powell, traded to the Nets. Now that we're here, we can talk about this because the Nets have 2 more picks here at the end of the draft. The Nets thought they weren't going to trade. They weren't going to draft all these guys. They drafted 5 guys and they got a bunch of other guys in trades. They thought they were going to trade out a lot of these picks and get something else. And apparently they could not do it. And apparently, reported by Brian Windhorst during a draft night production, a show on ESPN News, said, and I quote, executives were hitting him up and poking fun at the Nets draft. The Nets did not have a great draft. I don't think they were prepared to take all these guys. I think they were prepared to alleviate some of these picks from their pockets and give them to somebody else, and they just couldn't do it. The Pelicans took Asen Newell, um, traded them to the Hawks. The Thunder took Nick Clifford, traded him to the Kings. The Thunder could not take on any more players from what I've seen. They literally just had to trade him. They couldn't keep him. The Magic took Jace Richardson. The Nets took Ben Sarif. Um, the Nets took Danny Wolf as well towards the end of the draft. The Celtics took Hugo Gonzalez, another foreign-born player. The Suns took Liam McNeely, and the Clippers took, I'm not even going to try to say that name, so we're going to say Yannick. Yeah, Yannick. So yeah, that's all of these picks. Again, we're here again in the same situation. Took a lot longer than I thought it would, but here we are. We got through them all. So again, some of them I just went through. Some of them, a lot of them, the top 5, top 6, we took a bit of our time on. But congratulations to all these guys. I hope they each have their own moment on their own team, and get to really show their talents on every one of these teams. And I wish them all the best and a long and healthy career. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And the last thing I will leave you with here is that you might have noticed the Lakers were not one, they did not make one single draft pick in the first round, even though they were speculated trying to get into the first round. So I'll leave you with that little bit of information. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.